Hi guys, how's it going? Ivano here. And since patch 7.3 dropped and PvP Season 2 is now over, I wanted to give you guys a quick update. I played about maybe 15 to 20 hours of the new patch so far, and I'll upload some gameplay videos in the coming days. But before, I just wanted to kind of give my initial thoughts on the patch, what I think about it, especially in terms of class balance. So if you haven't seen it already, I already published a couple of videos about my thoughts on the class balance for the current patch, as well as a tier list. So this is just really just kind of an update. Now that I have played the patch, what do I think? Are those accurate or not? Of course, as always, the other videos I'll link in the description below. So starting with PowerTech, which is of course my main class, I played quite a lot of AP and tried out the new tactical, and yeah, kind of as I thought before the patch, new tactical feels kind of shit. So yeah, to be honest, playing with Energized Vambrace in PvP, you almost don't feel it. I mean, are you really going to feel 20% more damage on your bleed? Well, not really, especially if people in PvP can cleanse it off much more often than, for example, a raid boss in PvE would do. And the 20% extra damage on Magnetic Blast is nice, but it's not going to change the world. So me personally, I will be using Overwhelming Offense as my new old tactical, or maybe Flame Detonation for some AoE fun. I think Neural Trigger, now that it has been nerfed and that it is a root instead of a hard stun, is not best in slot anymore. It's better to go for some damage if you're playing AP, especially since AP has received some nice buffs, so 5% critical multiplier on basically all your abilities. That feels really good. You can definitely feel that the crits are a little bit bigger, and you have more burst, which of course is nice for PvP, but in my opinion was also not really what AP needed. Nevertheless, I'll take it. Then they introduced Stealth Scan. I already made a whole separate video on why I think that ability is quite unfun and also overpowered, especially versus other melees. Now that I tried it, I would say, yeah, it is quite broken in especially those melee games. It's also a great tool for zoning enemy players. So if your premade has, for example, multiple power tags that are all running the stealth scan thing, then you can cover half of the map forever with it, basically. And the other team can forget playing melee, because 20% accuracy and a permanent 30% slow is just that good. It's almost like, everyone that's in it from your team has a permanent defensive cooldown running at all times. Yeah, and even ranged players, they're gonna have to kite out of it if you have multiple power tags stacking that thing. So then that gives you control over a zone, for example, over an objective if you want it, and you can sometimes then cap it for free and push the enemy players back. So PT is quite strong, arguably even stronger than before the patch, especially against other melee classes. So in my opinion, if you want to play melee, really look into learning how to play PowerTech, particularly Advanced Prototype, but Pyro is strong as well, even though I haven't tested that since it wasn't changed in the patch. My overall feeling on the meta and the balance changes, yeah, they were good, they were in the right direction. I already said this before the patch. I felt that the class changes were touching the right classes, but unfortunately sometimes they were not enough. Concealment is still easily the worst class for PvP, especially for war zones. It's hardly playable, so definitely still needs buffs. Lethality was nerfed, it's definitely weaker, but actually I saw more lethality operatives than I saw before the patch, which I guess is probably people testing out the nerfs. But yeah, you can feel that the damage nerf of lethality definitely hurts it in a single target. Madness is pretty much the same. I haven't really seen any difference. They are still as strong as ever, but snipers are a lot better. I've seen a lot of snipers running around. I think snipers got a good defensive buff that really helps them out. The passive heal that they got while staying in cover is actually quite significant and means that in a meta where a lot of people play dots, Sniper will now survive way, way longer. Yeah, it actually comes out to around 5k healing per second, which is quite significant, and sometimes even more than Madness can do in certain scenarios. So Sniper is definitely good against dot classes, but they are still susceptible to being bursted, especially by PTs. Overall, I think in this patch, ranged classes are a lot stronger than melees. Of course, that's particularly true for all the Sorc specs and also the Sniper specs, maybe with the exception of Marksman. And then Merc, it got buffed, but I think it will still need further buffs because the buffs really didn't do enough for Merc to bring it back into the meta. Otherwise, as far as I could see from, again, the couple of matches that I played, matchmaking is still pretty broken, unfortunately. You can still queue as 8-man premates for Warzones, which is just really unfun. You can still queue solo for an arena and run into a full premate with heal and tank. And that is just not very fun. So yeah, typically, of course, also the bigger the premate, then the harder it is to balance the teams, because the pool of 8-man premates or even 4-man premates queuing for arenas at the moment, unfortunately, simply is not good enough to have proper matchmaking. So my suggestion is again the same as before the patch. I would limit premates for Warzones back to a maximum number of 4 players. And for arenas, I think you should introduce a cap of maximum 2 players. That would make it much more fun, at least in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on patch 7.3. I'll still keep playing it, and as I said, I'll upload a couple of gameplay videos for you guys to check out over the next days. All in all, it's not all good news, but it's also not all bad. So let me know what you guys think. Did you have fun playing the current patch or not so much? What do you think Bioware should change? What are the biggest problems? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.